the last video, we looked at the first two mysteries in a three-step mystery. So chapter 13 explores the third mysteries, mostly the mysteries of the soul and the kingdom of heaven, which are told in parables. And the three main parables are planting metaphors. And she is the only one of the Queen of Wands is the only one out of the royal suits of wands that have all these planting visuals, all these agricultural visuals, like the sunflower seeds. Chapter 13 begins with Jesus sitting in a ship talking to the multitudes on the shore, beginning with the parable of the sower who sows seeds that fall on different kinds of ground. The first is by the wayside, which the fowls devour, and the second is upon stony places, which lack the earth, therefore the depth, and are therefore scorched by the sun. The third are among the thorns that spring up and choke the seeds. And the fourth and last is into good places, which bring up fruit, some 100-fold, some 60-fold, and some 30-fold. The disciples ask him, "Why do you teach in parables?" And he says, "Because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but not to them," meaning the multitudes. To them it is not given. And he continues, "To him who has, more shall be given, but to him who has not, the little he does have will be taken away." Then he quotes Isaiah, who said, "By hearing ye shall hear, and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see, and shall not perceive." He goes on to explain the parable of the sower, saying that when he sows by the wayside, that speaks of those who hear the word of the kingdom but don't understand. And when he sows upon stony places, that speaks of those who hear the word and receive it with joy, but this doesn't last long because the seed hasn't taken root. That is, at first sign of trouble, they reject the word. And when he sows among the thorns, that's those who hear the word but are deceived by riches, which chokes the word. And when into good ground, or good earth, it speaks of those who hear the word and understand it, and bear its fruit, some 100-fold, some 60-fold, and some 30-fold. He continues with another parable, likening the kingdom of heaven unto a man who sows good seed in his field. But while he sleeps, his enemies sow tares among the wheat, so that both wheat and tares are now growing together. His servants ask him if they should go and gather the tares up, and he tells them no, that would also uproot the wheat, but instead to wait till harvest time, and then he'll gather the tares and burn them up. Then the wheat will be gathered into the barn. He goes on with a third parable, the grain of mustard seed that a man takes and sows in his field. The least of all the seeds, but when it's grown, it's the greatest among herbs, and becomes a tree, and the birds come and nest in its branches. The author of Matthew explains that with these parables, Jesus is again fulfilling what the prophet has spoken. "I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter things which have been kept secret from the foundation of the world." Later in private, his disciples ask him about the parable of the tares. He explains that he that sows the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world. The good seed is the children of the kingdom, while the tares, those are the children of the wicked one. The enemy that sows the tares is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are angels. So basically, at the end of the world, the Son of Man sends his angels to burn the wicked, while the righteous will shine in the kingdom of God. Jesus then tells his disciples that every scribe which is instructed unto the kingdom of heaven is like a householder that brings forth out of his treasure the new and the old. He then returns to his hometown to teach the people, but they don't recognize his authority. He says that a prophet is not without honor, save in his own country and in his own house. Because of the people's unbelief, he doesn't do great works there. Chapter 14 begins with King Herod, who hears of the fame of Jesus, believing that John the Baptist has perhaps risen from the dead. The Gospel of Matthew recounts Herod's imprisoning and eventually beheading of John the Baptist, all because John has reproached Herod for taking his brother's wife, fittingly called Herodias. We're told how the daughter of Herodias was dancing for Herod, and the king promised her to give her whatever she desired. Her mother instructed her to ask for John the Baptist's head. Because of his promise, Herod had no other choice but to give it to her, and then the daughter brought the head to her mother. The disciples of John the Baptist bury his body and then go tell Jesus about it. And Jesus then decides to go out into the desert by himself, but the crowds follow him there. Seeing the multitudes, Jesus is moved, and he begins healing the sick. Later that evening, his disciples tell Jesus to send the people away so that they may find something to eat. But Jesus instructs his disciples to feed the over 5,000 people there, to which they answer that they only have 5 loaves and 2 fishes. Jesus commands the people to sit, and he blesses the food and gives it to his disciples, who distribute the food among the people, and after the people eat to their satisfaction, 12 basketful remains. Then Jesus sends the people away and sends his disciples ahead of him on a ship to the opposite shore, while he by himself goes to a mountain to pray. Later that night, the disciples are being tossed around by stormy weather, and they see Jesus walking on the water, and they're afraid, thinking him to be some kind of ghostly apparition. But he reassures them that it is indeed him. Peter asks if he could join him on the water, and when he starts making his way towards Jesus, he's suddenly filled with doubt, and begins to sink, crying out for Jesus to save him. Jesus takes his hand. "O thou of little faith," he says, "why do you doubt?" His disciples then worship him as the Son of God. Later, when they've arrived on shore, people from all over come to him with their sick, pleading that they might only touch the hem of his robe, and those that do are healed.